Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about clarity of settings. So, Dungeons and Dragons is getting 2 new classic settings being brought to 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. It's massively exciting and important, and it's given a lot of energy and momentum to the D&D community, to Wizards of the Coast. I think they're excited about it. People are very old school gamers are excited about it. New school gamers are excited about it. And actually, even D&D people who aren't, and there's so much froth and energy from what's happening that I think it's even drawing in people who aren't D&D connected to just be a little more aware of what's happening with D&D. And it's just a big event, right? So we're getting these 2 settings, and I want to talk about clarity of setting, right? Because we have 2 new classic settings coming. And what are they? They are Spelljammer and they are Dragonlance, right? And I wanted to talk... Oh, excuse me. I wanted to talk specifically about what I know. What is Spelljammer? What is Dragonlance? Okay, I've been DMing since I was 12, right? And I have been very close to Dungeons and Dragons for literally 4 decades, right? I could tell you what Spelljammer is. Spelljammer is I get on a ship that goes through space. I start at Forgotten Realms, and I go to Eberron, and I sail through the etheric space, and I arrive at Eberron, and I have an adventure on Forgotten Realms, and then I have this cool Spelljammer adventure across the etheric space, and I travel to Eberron, and then I have an adventure on Eberron, and then I travel through the etheric space, and I arrive at Ravenloft, right? It is the space between. It is travel between the settings, travel between the realms, right? And it's cool, and I know exactly what it is, and I am here for it, and I am excited. What is Dragonlance? It gets a little unclear. I'm like, okay, I'm going to tell you the things I know about Dragonlance. I literally owned the Dragonlance book. I read through that sucker, and when I was done, I knew a lot about Dragonlance, but I really didn't know what Dragonlance was, right? I own the Orange Spine Easily of Dragonlance. I also know that there was a Dragonlance movie that I watched, right? And I'm going to say a whole bunch of terms to you. I know that there are Knights of Solamnia. I know there is a Dragonlance. I don't know if it helps you kill a dragon or control a dragon. Can I ride a dragon in Dragonlance? I think I saw some people riding dragons all up on the covers of those Dragonlance novels that I never read, right? And so there is a real lack of clarity on what Dragonlance is. And I think that lack of clarity exists for a lot of people, right? Now, why does that lack of clarity exist, right? Well, one, it's super old, right? And all this old stuff, man, it falls off. People don't remember. Our world has a shelf life of about 3 seconds, right? So old stuff really don't stick, right? And it's very hard to sell old stuff to any Gen Zs or millennials. And the reason why is this old stuff is filled with cultural problems and pacing, right? Pacing is a big thing. A lot of people won't watch old movies because the pacing is so absurdly slow compared to what we get today, right? So you have all these things going on, right? These blockers to really stop. Oh, by the way, I know Raceland's in there, right? And Raceland was kind of a sick wizard who has a brother, and I think there's some Kenders up in there, and a Thieve-a-Lot, and I think that's it. That's all I can remember, right? So basically, there is a real lack of clarity on what Dragonlance is, okay? And I just don't understand. Now, why is that? So, 1, it's old. 2, it has this other problem that is very distinct in Dungeons & Dragons. This has been a problem for a long time. This became a major problem in the 90s, and I think it may have been one of the reasons why Dungeons & Dragons ended up getting sold to Wizards of the Coast. It is another fantasy setting, right? And that gets really challenging, right? It's just another, the Red Wizards of Thay, right? I know all these things that are in Dragonlance, but I really can't tell you. If you put a foam gun to my head and say, you got to tell me now what Dragonlance is, I don't know what I would be able to tell you, right? Because it's a lot of things, but I'm not sure if I understand the main thrust, right? And the reason why is it's another fantasy setting, and this is a very real problem in Dungeons & Dragons. Very real problem in Dungeons & Dragons. Another fantasy setting, right? Greyhawk, Mystara, Forgotten Realms. Completely duplicative. There's no need for those three, right? There should be one, but there's three, right? Rokugan, that's a really unique fantasy setting. It's not like Mystara and Greyhawk and Forgotten Realms, right? And then the other thing is also you can count Loader as almost like as a real, and actually as a real Dungeons and Dragons setting in, I can't say, no, you can say Lord of the Rings is really a proxy Dungeons and Dragons setting. Now, why would I say that, right? Well, there's a very real reason for it. Like, Dungeons and Dragons really is very much systematized Lord of the Rings, and when this thing was built from the ground up, they had Tolkien in mind every step of the way, right? And really, if you look at the races, you look at the locations, you look at the magic, it all very much fits Lord of the Rings, right? So Dragonlance is really another fantasy setting in Dungeons & Dragons, and that's tough because there are a lot of fantasy settings, and we even now more now, right? So Exandria, you know what? Exandria ain't nothing but Forgotten Realms with wokeness. That's kind of like what it is. It is extremely well written, right? And it does have some interesting aspects, but it's really just Lord of the Rings plus woke, right? Which I think a lot of people are getting upset with Amazon because that looks like exactly what they're doing, right? And so, you know, it's this very real, interesting aspect that's coming out, that's happening, and you know, and it really kind of boils down to Dragonlance isn't really distinct. So where do we land from there, right? So I know what Spelljammer is. I'm excited for Spelljammer. I really don't know what Dragonlance is. I am excited for Dragonlance. Not as much as Spelljammer, I have to say, right? And there's an opportunity. So basically, 5th edition has this opportunity to really kind of spike the football on this one, and they could Guardians of the Galaxy it, right? I really kind of think Dragonlance is a little bit of an obscure, forgotten, setting. And so Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition designers have this opportunity to kind of cut some of the branches, like do some pairing, cut some of the branches off and show me a tree, you know, show me a clear picture. Let me figure out what this thing is and really explain to me exactly how this thing is going to land and what it means for Dungeons & Dragons and what is the actual shape of it. Because right now it's just kind of an amorphous mess, and it kind of reads as another fantasy setting. So I'm really hoping that the 5th edition team will make it cohesive and build something significant and real and powerful and fun. I am very confident they can do that because Call of Neverdeep was fantastic. That's Critical Role. And Wild Beyond the Witchlight, like on the Wizards Coast side and on the Critical Role side, they're really crushing it. And I would maybe Dragonlance is completely written, but I wouldn't be surprised if, they call up Mercer and say, hey, have you got any ideas for Dragonlance? So I'm really curious, and honestly, I think Wiseman and Hicks, we got what we need from them. I don't think we really need more from them to get this thing locked in and finished. All that's my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Also, do you have clarity on this? Can you tell me in one sentence, 2 sentences maybe, what Dragonlance is? Can you give me a concise description that doesn't read as another fantasy setting? Or am I right? This really is another fantasy setting, and Wizard Coast got to get to work and make something cohesive and real and tight and different with this. Love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.